In every small town, there is always that one boy, the one who sleeps in long after the roosters have crowed, the one who lingers on the porch while others run to the fields, or who sits with a distant gaze while his friends chase their dreams. His neighbors whisper he is lazy, but behind those whispers lies something deeper, a question we rarely pause to ask. Is laziness simply the refusal to move, or is it a story waiting to be rewritten? Today's story begins in such a place, a quiet village where morning mist clings to the hills and life follows the rhythm of the rising sun. In this village lived a boy named Aaron. His days were marked not by effort but by avoidance. His chores lay undone, his books unopened, and his hands remained idle. While others harvested their potential, he let the hours slip away like water through a careless hand. Yet life has a way of nudging us forward. Sometimes it is not with a shout, but with a whisper. For Aaron, the whisper came in the form of a challenge, small at first, but powerful enough to wake something within him. This story isn't just about Aaron. It is about you and me and the silent battles we fight when comfort tempts us more than progress. Laziness, after all, is not an identity, it's a season. And seasons, no matter how long, always change when the right seed is planted. So before we dive in, hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy this kind of video, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, dim the lights, maybe grab a snack, and let's jump in. Number 1, the comfort of ease. Aaron discovered that laziness thrives in the softness of comfort. Each morning his bed felt warmer than the chill of dawn, and each afternoon the shade of a tree seemed more inviting than the fields waiting to be plowed. But as the days passed, he realized a hidden truth. Ease today becomes regret tomorrow. Laziness rarely comes with loud warnings or dramatic failures. Instead, it creeps in silently, stealing one unchosen task at a time. Psychologists call this present bias, our natural tendency to favor immediate comfort over future rewards. For example, choosing to sleep in might feel harmless today, but over weeks and months, it compounds into missed opportunities, weakened discipline, and lost potential. Studies in behavioral science show that procrastination and chronic avoidance often lead to increased stress, poorer health, and even reduced life satisfaction because the human brain is wired to feel guilt when neglecting responsibilities. Aaron's story echoes what philosophers and spiritual teachers have taught for centuries. The Roman Stoic Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Time lost to laziness is not just ours, it is pieces of life that never return. In modern terms, this aligns with the concept of opportunity cost. Every moment spent in idleness is a moment not spent learning, growing, or building something of value. Researchers in productivity studies also note that small habits like making one's bed in the morning or finishing a simple chore can spark a psychological effect known as behavioral momentum. One action leads to another, creating progress where stagnation once reigned. Aaron began to see that laziness wasn't just about avoiding work, it was about avoiding growth. Comfort gave him temporary relief, but action gave him dignity and purpose. He learned that the plow waiting in the field was not merely a burden, but a pathway to strength, skill, and future harvest. The same principle holds true for all of us. By resisting the quiet pull of laziness and choosing even small steps of discipline each day, we shape a tomorrow filled with pride rather than regret. Number 2, the mirror of comparison. One day, Aaron noticed something that pierced him more deeply than any scolding from his parents or mocking laughter from the villagers. His childhood friends, the same boys he once chased across dusty fields, were no longer children idling away the hours. They were learning trades, carrying tools, helping their families, and saving coins for their futures. Some had even become apprentices in nearby towns. Their steady progress stood before Aaron like a mirror, reflecting back his own lack of movement. In that moment, he realized an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the success of others does more than inspire us. It confronts us with the silent cost of standing still. Psychologists describe this as social comparison theory, where people measure their own worth against the achievements of those around them. It can lead to envy, but when seen rightly, it can awaken us from complacency. Aaron began to recognize that each wasted sunrise was not just a lost day, but a missing brick in the foundation of his future. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, once wrote, It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Laziness often feels harmless in the moment, but over time its cost compounds. Research in education shows that even 30 minutes of focused learning each day can place someone years ahead of those who do nothing. For Aaron, the change was quiet but profound. His friends' achievements were not his enemy. They were proof that time moves for everyone. That simple realization became his spark, an awakening to the truth that while effort builds futures, idleness only ensures that life passes by unnoticed. Number 3, the power of small steps. His first act of change wasn't grand. It was simply rising before sunrise, fetching water and feeling the strength of effort. Change, he learned, is not about giant leaps. It is about steady, faithful steps. This truth mirrors how real transformation often begins in life. Psychologists note that habits are not formed overnight. Instead, they grow through consistent repetition of small, meaningful actions. For instance, researchers at University College London found that it takes an average of 66 days to build a new habit, not through one extraordinary decision, but through repeated daily effort. Aaron's small act of waking early was more than a chore. It was a declaration to himself that discipline could be learned, one morning at a time. History too is filled with such lessons. Great athletes, scholars, and leaders often credit their success not to rare bursts of brilliance, but to the discipline of ordinary routines. Consider Benjamin Franklin, who designed his days around small, intentional practices that shaped his productivity and wisdom. In the same way, Aaron discovered that real progress is not measured by speed, but by direction. The sunrise he rose to meet became a symbol, not of how far he had come, but of how faithfully he had begun. Number 4, the weight of responsibility. Aaron's awakening came the day he noticed the tired lines etched into his mother's face and the calloused hands of his father. What once felt like endless freedom, lying idle and avoiding his duties, suddenly appeared to him as chains on those he loved. Laziness was no longer a harmless choice. It was a weight he had placed on the very people who cared for him. Psychologists note that idleness often stems not from weakness, but from a lack of perceived purpose. When individuals fail to see how their actions impact others, motivation diminishes. Aaron realized that each loaf of bread on the table was not simply food, but hours of sweat and labor. Research in behavioral science shows that people are more likely to act when they know their work contributes to the well-being of someone else, a concept known as pro-social motivation. This truth transformed Aaron's perspective. No longer was responsibility an annoyance, it became the cure for his idleness. Every task, fetching water, gathering firewood, or helping in the fields, became an act of love and contribution. Movement was no longer a choice, it was duty woven with meaning. Responsibility, he discovered, was not a burden but the key to freedom. Number 5, the joy of transformation. Slowly, Aaron's days grew brighter. Not because the world around him changed overnight, but because he began to change within. At first it was small, sweeping the front yard, finishing a single page in his book, or helping a neighbor carry a basket. Yet science tells us that even these little steps matter. Psychologists explain that completing small tasks activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, the same chemical linked to feelings of accomplishment and motivation. Each time Aaron pushed through his old habits, he wasn't just building discipline, he was literally rewiring his brain for success. History is full of similar stories. Thomas Edison, once labeled as unteachable by his school teachers, went on to hold more than 1,000 patents, not because he was born brilliant, but because he trained himself to persevere through thousands of failures. In the same way, Aaron discovered that laziness wasn't a permanent identity, but a temporary choice. With every lesson learned, he found meaning. With every task completed, he tasted pride. His life became proof that even the slowest to start can still run the race of purpose. And that transformation always begins with one small step. Laziness is not the end of your story, it is simply a page. What matters is how you choose to turn it. Like Aaron, you can trade comfort for courage, excuses for effort, and regret for growth. So tonight, as you rest, ask yourself, what small step can I take tomorrow to honor my potential? Because one day, your story may be told too. And wouldn't it be beautiful if it became a whisper of hope for someone else?